In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to multiply decimal numbers. So let's begin with a simple example. What is 4.3 times 3.7? Well, let's set up our problem like this. Let's multiply it using the old school method. Now, the way in which you would multiply these two numbers would be the same as if you're multiplying 43 by 37. So let's do this first. 3 times 7 is 21, so we need to write the 1, carry over the 2. And then we have 4 times 7, which is 28, plus 2, so that's going to give us 30. And now let's get rid of the 2. So to move on to the next row, you need to add a 0. And then 3 times 3 is 9. After that, we have 3 times 4, which is 12. And then we need to add. So 1 plus 0 is 1, 0 plus 9 is 9, 3 plus 2 is 5, and then bring down the 1. So this is 1,591. Now, we're going to have the same numbers here. However, the place of the decimal point will be different. So notice that we have one digit to the right of the decimal point, and here we also have one digit. So in our answer, we should have 2 digits to the right of the decimal point, which means the decimal point should be here. Therefore, the answer is 15.91. And so that's how you can multiply decimal numbers. You need to follow the same procedure, but then make sure that you place the decimal point in the right spot. Now let's try this example problem. 6.8 times 5.9. And also let's try this one too. 7.2 times 9.4. So go ahead and work on those two examples. So first we have 9 times 8. 9 times 8 is 72. So let's write the 2, carry over the 7. And then we have 6 times 9, which is 54, plus 7, so that's going to be 61. Now let's write a 0, and let's take away the 7. So now we have 5 times 8, which is 40. So let's carry over the 4. And then 5 times 6 is 30, plus 4, so that's going to be 34. And now let's add. So column by column. Here we have 2, and then 1 plus 0 is 1. And then we have 6 plus 4, which is 10. So let's write the 0, carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. Now, where should we put the decimal point? So in our two numbers, we have one digit to the right of the decimal point, and here we have another. So we have a total of 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. So it should be here. Therefore, the answer is going to be 40.12. Now let's move on to the next example. And that is 7.2 times 9.4. So first, let's multiply 4 by 2. So that's going to give us 8. And then we have 7 times 4, which is 28. So we could just write the entire 28 because there's no other number that we have to worry about. And so we don't have to add anything. Now let's add a 0 for the next row. And then we have 9 times 2, which is 18. Now we do have a number here, so we need to carry over the 1. And finally, 9 times 7 is 63, plus 1. So that's going to be 64. So we have 8 plus 0, which is 8. And then 8 plus 8 is 16. Carry over the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 4 is 7. And here we could bring down the 6. So we have 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. So our final answer should be the same. So it's going to be 67.68. Now let's work on a different example. So let's say we have 3.56, and let's multiply it by 4.8. Go ahead and try that. So I'm going to set it up this way. So here we have 6 times 8, which is 48. So let's carry over the 4. and then it's 8 times 5, which is 40, plus 4, so that's 44. So we have to carry over the other 4. And then 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4, so that gives us 28. Now let's add a 0, and let's get rid of these things. So now we have 4 times 6, which is 24. So let's write the 4, carry over the 2, and then 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2, so that's 22. And then we got to carry over the other 2. And 3 times 4 is 12, plus 2, so that's 14. So now let's add up the numbers. 8 plus 0 is 8, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 2 is 10, bring over the 1, and then we have 4 plus 2 plus 1, which is 7, and then we have a 1. Now, where should we put the decimal point? So notice that we have 3 digits to the right of the decimal point. We have 2 in this number, and we have 1 in the second number. So we have a total of 3. So therefore, we need 3 digits to the right of the decimal point, which means the decimal point should be here. So our answer is 17.088. And if you have a calculator, you can confirm it. So 3.56 times 4.8. And you should get this answer, 17.088. Now let's try another example. Let's multiply 4.62 by 3.84. So let's begin. So let's multiply 4 by 2, which is 8. And then it's going to be 6 times 4, so that's 24. Carry over the 2. And then we have 4 times 4, which is 16, plus 2. And so that's 18. Now let's add a 0. Here we have 8 times 2, which is 16. And so we need to carry over the 1. And then it's 8 times 6, which is 48 plus 1. So that's 49. Let's bring up the 4. And then we have 8 times 4 is 32 plus 4, so that's 36. And now let's move on to the next row. So we need to add 2 zeros now instead of 1. So now we have 3 times 2, which is 6. And then we have 3 times 6, which is 18. So we'll write the 8, carry over the 1. And finally we have 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 1. So that's 13. And now let's add. So this is 8. 4 plus 6 is 10. Carry over the 1. So 1 and 8 is 9. 9 plus 9 is 18. 18 plus 6, 24. So now let's carry over the 2. 2 and 1 is 3. 3 and 6 is 9. 9 and 8 is 17. So let's carry over the 1. 1 plus 3 is 7. And let's bring down to 1. Now notice that we have a total of 4 digits to the right of the decimal point. So in our answer, we should have the same thing. So our final answer is 17.7408. Now let's try this example. This is going to be the last example in this video. 5.42 times 3.625. Now, here's a question for you. Is it better to write it like this? Or is it better to write it like this? Which number should we put on top? Now, personally, I prefer to put the number that has more digits on top, because the number on the bottom in the second row tells you how many rows you're going to have beneath on the bottom. So I'd rather have 3 rows instead of 4 rows on the bottom. So once you multiply it with this number, you're going to have 4 rows that you have to add. And so regardless of which way you decide to go, you can still get the right answer. It's really a matter of choice. So let's go ahead and do this one. 2 times 5 is 10. So we have a 0. Let's bring up the 1. and then 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1, so that's 5. And then we have 2 times 6, which is 12. And then 2 times 3 is 6 plus 1, so that's 7. Now let's move on to the second row. So let's add a 0. And now we have 4 times 5, which is 20. Let's bring up the 2. And then 4 times 2 is 8 plus 2, so that's 10. So let's write the 0, and then let's carry over the 1. Now we have 6 times 4, which is 24 plus 1, so that's 25. Let's bring up the 2, and then 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2, so that's 14. Which we'll have to write the entire 14, since there's no other number here. Now for the last row, let's add 2 zeros. And so here we have 5 times 5, and that's 25. Next we have 5 times 2 is 10 plus 2, so that's 12. And then it's 5 times 6, which is 30 plus 1, so that's 31. Bring up the 3, and then 3 times 5 is 15 plus 3, so that's 18. Now let's add. So it's 0, 5, 2 and 5 will give us 7. And then 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. 1 plus 4 plus 1 is 6. 1 plus 8 is 9. And then bring down to 1. Now the last thing we need to talk about is where to put the decimal point. So in the first number we have 2 digits to the right of the decimal point. And for the second number we have 3 digits to the right of the decimal point. So we need 5 digits to the right of it. Therefore, the decimal point should be here. So our answer is 19.64750. And you can see the 5 digits that we have to the right. However, we really don't need this other 0. So if you were to type this in, let's say into your calculator, let me go ahead and do that. The calculator won't show you the 0. It's going to display 19.6475. And so it only shows 4 digits to the right of the decimal point. However, this technique is useful when you're doing it this way. And so it incorporates the 0 that you get from multiplying these numbers using that process. But as you can see, the answer is still correct. You just need to drop off the 0 if it's at the end. If it's in the middle, you need to keep the 0. But if it's at the end, the calculator is not going to have it because these two, they have the same value. And so having this last 0 is just not significant. It's not important. So that's it. Now you know how to multiply decimal numbers. Thanks for watching.